Samuel, what's going on in the print world?
Come on, Sean.
Sweet 16 is a headline on the back of the Mail this morning. Chelsea's victory sees them into the knockout stages of the Champions League. Also, another story in the back of the Daily Mail this morning by Chris Wheeler. Cristiano Ronaldo has buried the hatchet with Erik ten Hag and is returning to first-team training at Manchester United. Could be involved in the Europa League game on Thursday.
Good.
Haaland's humbling return to Dortmund is a headline back of the Mirror. Erling Haaland endured a miserable return to Dortmund as Man City drew another Champions League blank. He was taken off at half-time and Riyad Mahrez then missed a penalty. Some stories away from last night's football, Laura. Back at the Times, Unai Emery has been taking English lessons since leaving Arsenal in 2019 in preparation for his return to the Premier League with Aston Villa. It's understood Emery has always had a return to England in mind and has continued to work on his English, so good for him, and we're very much looking forward to seeing him return to the Premier League.
Honestly, can I just say, I wish I'd learnt language when I was younger, but in this country, we're lazy, but obviously
that's what we are.
We don't really use it either, really. We don't really have a need to use it. So I've always got maximum respect for people that go to different countries
I've thought about
and learn
learning Spanish.
Really?
Yeah. I have thought about learning Spanish.
And you thought better of it, clearly.
No, I've still not ruled it out, but then I go to Portugal and I don't go to Spain. But more people speak Spanish than Portuguese.
Una cerveza.
That's very impressive.
Thank you. Do you know what that means?
No.
I think it means one beer.
Is it?
Yeah.
I can actually get by in French. I could get by in French. I could make myself understood if I was in Paris. If somebody just dropped me in Paris, I could survive.
Thank God for that. I did worry about you travelling abroad on your own. I can't wait to see what you're like in Qatar.
I'm like that guy. What's that guy? An idiot travelling abroad. He's brilliant, isn't he? What do you call him?
An idiot abroad.
Yeah.
Carl Pilkington.
Carl Pilkington.
Yeah.
He's tremendous.
I prefer your title though. An idiot travelling abroad.
Yeah. Not what it's called, is it, Laura?
It sounds much better.
Tottenham in Champions League action this evening against Sporting, because Eric Dyer started off his career, didn't he, in Portugal?
He did.
And there's a piece about that in the Times. Eric Dyer admits most of his earliest memories of growing up in Lisbon have long since faded, but there is one that still sticks out. He says, one of my fondest memories was when I was very little, and it was my first session. I was terrified. All these other kids were there, and I didn't speak any Portuguese at the time. I was crying, but my mum just threw me over the fence and said, get on with it. And thank God she did. That's quite a nice piece there from Eric Dyer. I want to ask you guys about some of Antonio Conte's comments in the build-up to this game. Antonio Conte insists Tottenham have a long way to go, but says Chelsea and Man United have got no such excuses. Conte bristled when asked whether there was an opening for Spurs this season because Chelsea and United are clubs in transition. The Tottenham boss went on the offensive, saying both rivals spent big money and enjoyed recent success, so should be seen as title contenders. Is that fair, Ali? Because I think when we're talking this season about who can push City the furthest, I think Spurs and Arsenal have been the two teams mentioned. We're not maybe as much mentioning Chelsea and Man United. Has he got a point, though, that Chelsea and Man United should be further ahead of where Spurs are at the moment?
He should just be concentrating on his own job and getting Spurs better, never mind commenting on other teams. It seems like a cop-out to me, I've got to say. You know, and it's the first time we hear him saying it is after they've a couple of bad results, whether it's at Old Trafford and obviously the home result against Newcastle. I like him. Just concentrate on your job. I think he's a good coach, good manager. Just concentrate on your own job. I wouldn't be bringing other teams into it.
It's a big game this evening. Only 1 point separates Marseille and Spurs and Sporting in the table.
That's tight.
It's a tight group,
really
isn't it? Obviously, on the back of 2 defeats, there's always talk, isn't there, about Conte's future, Conte's contract. It's a big night for Spurs, isn't it?
Massive. I think they'll do all right. I've got to say, I think they'll be fine tonight. But no, you're 100% correct. That's really tight, that group. We'll find out obviously after close of play tonight. But I would expect them to be okay.
What do you reckon, Laura? Sort of looking in as a rival on Spurs, a couple of tough defeats and poor performances. Do you think some of the criticism that has come Conte's way about the style of football has been a bit unfair? When you think Spurs are third in the league, they are top of their Champions League group, and sometimes it seems we look in on Spurs as if, you know, it's all a bit negative. Is that unfair, do you think?
No, I think some of the fans quite rightly would criticise. Listen, what they were saying was we don't mind watching that style of football if we're winning games, but when you are losing, what they lost to Sporting last time out, didn't they, 2-0, now. Losing to Arsenal, I understand Arsenal having a great season, but you're losing to teams like Newcastle, who are further back in their development than Spurs are.
Of course.
So yes, you can compare to other teams like Chelsea, and who's the other team they compared them to?
He said Man United.
And Manchester United. But you're losing to teams that technically on paper you should be beating. So I don't buy that at all. But yeah, if the results come, then the fans won't mind watching that kind of football. It's when you get a double negative and you're not happy with the football that you're watching, and also you're not getting the results, and then what are you fighting for? So I think I completely would agree with fans that are getting a bit frustrated with that. And I also agree with Ali. I think sometimes you make too many excuses. Just focus on the job in hand and what you're doing in front of you, and then things will come. Yeah, you can respond. You can say yeah.
Because that thumbs up, the listeners can't see you doing that thumbs up now.
I can't see you nodding.
Laura and I know you're doing a thumbs up.
I know. I just broadcast the talkSPORT.
Solely for the edge.
Do you want me just to fling in
the show.
Listeners, Sam Ellard, affirmative thumbs up.
I was very happy with that answer from Laura Woods.
Thank you, mate. All right.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.